Hey, what's up everybody, this is Muth24, and today I'm going to be continuing my look at the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Medicos figures that I own. Looking at Kakyoin and his stand Heirophant Green today. You'll notice with the boxes here, they're both the smaller size figure boxes, and that's because, one, that these figures are not as big as some of the other ones, and two, they don't come with quite as many accessories, but the ones that they do come with I think are pretty cool. There are a few that I kind of wish they had come with, like an emerald splash sort of piece that you could put in between Heirophant Green's hands there. But that aside, I think the ones that we do get are pretty good for the cheaper price range for these figures as opposed to some of the bigger ones. So taking a look at the boxes, same sort of pattern as with all of JoJo's figures. You got the logo there down the bottom. Names of the characters run along the side. Heirophant Green's is understandably green. Kakyoin's is interestingly enough sort of this peach color, which I thought was a little odd, but I kind of like it. It's something different. On the side there, we have Kakyoin doing pretty much the same pose that I have him in right now. Then we have a couple other poses here on the back. Description of the accessories that you get in the box, as well as the little action base for him there. Same picture on the other side there. And then as for Heirophant Green's box, pretty simple pose on the side. And then on the back we have some pretty dynamic action poses there, which is pretty cool. Look at his little accessories that come in the box, and the action base again in the same pose on the other side there. Taking a look at the figures themselves, much like with all the other JoJo's characters that I have, there's some really great sculpting detail here, especially in Kakyoin's coat there, the way that it sort of has this flowing look to it and the little ridges along the side there. The color of his hair really stands out a lot, and I like that. I wasn't sure if I was going to be too hot on just how bright of a pink that is, but I think it works pretty well. Got some nice color on the gold there on the buttons, as well as the brown on the boots there. As for Heirophant Green, we have pretty much just sort of a dull gray across most of them, but there's a really nice metallic shine for the like greenish turquoise bits underneath there. Gives it sort of the illusion that there is sort of a constant flowing material underneath there. And then the head, you can see a little bit more of it there, but you have the yellow eyes definitely pop out there nicely, which is pretty cool. And I like the sort of layered effect there on his shoulder pads and the chest piece. In terms of the posability for Kakyoin, you can get his arms to go up about that far. You can get them to rotate around 360 no problem at the shoulder. Get a decent bend at the elbow there, not quite 180, but it's pretty good bend. And you can get some rotation back and forth there at the elbow as well. You can get to go not quite 360. I don't actually no, never mind. You can get to go 360. Maybe I was just pushing a little too hard the other way. You can get the wrist obviously wobble back and forth like that. You can get that to rotate 360, and like with all the other figures, there's a peg underneath there to change the hand out. You got sort of a double joint here at the neck. There's one at the actual head, and then one here at the collar, and you can get that to wobble back and forth. To turn a little bit at the collar, but most of the rotation comes at the actual head piece. And this is not the default head. This is the one that I put on with the sunglasses. I'll show off the default one in a little bit. You can get some rotation up here at the upper torso, and get that to rotate side to side, no problem. Get some back and forth there at the lower torso. This part does not move nearly as much, and I think it's because of how high up the waist part of the coat comes to be. The legs don't really spread out that far on this figure. That's about as far as you're going to get for them to go. And it doesn't seem to be so much because of the restrictions of the coat here. It's more the way that the waist is constructed. The joints are built there. So I'm not sure what's up with that exactly. Similarly, the legs only go about that far forward and about that far backwards. So standing poses, you're not going to be able to get nearly as much out of Kakyoin as you would with the others. The knees feel like they could bend further if it wasn't for the fact that this was in the way. But, kind of as it stands right now, you can only get them to go about 90 degrees. You can get some decent, turn out of them at the hip there. The feet will go back and forth like so. We'll rotate side to side, no problem, and you do get the little joint there at the tip of the toe. As for Heirophant Green, he has generally better posability overall, due in part because of the fact that his sculpt doesn't have as much in the way of restrictive build there. The head does have a joint here at the neck, and then the neck has a joint there at the body, but most of the rotation and posability you're going to get out of the head is actually at the head joint proper, where it attaches to the neck, not so much at the neck attaching to the body there. The arms can go out about that far, can rotate around 360 no problem. You can get a decent bend at the elbow. It's basically a 90-degree bend there. And then you can get the rotation at the wrist, obviously 360, get that to flop back and forth a bunch, do karate chops, whatever. The torso, the upper joint here can wobble around, no problem. Can rotate 360, no problem. And then the lower waist joint can similarly rotate 360, a little bit more in the way of a kickback from the waist joint there because it's a lot tighter connection, but it does go 360 if you want it to. The legs can go up and around 360 if you want them to. Can go out about that far. Just because of the way the ball joint's connected here, it does sort of have a natural tendency to rotate by itself if you start pushing it out like that. But then it can bend at the knee. Not quite 180, but it's a pretty decent bend there. You can obviously get some rotation here at the connection point to the hip. The little ball joint there. You can get the feet to wobble back and forth. Can get them to rotate side to side a little bit. The little ankle guard here comes down a bit much, and the sides of the feet hang out a little bit too much to do more than that. And then obviously the toe will flop back and forth like every other figure does. As I mentioned, the sunglasses face is not the default face that comes with Kakyoin. This is actually the one that comes on the figure when it's right in the box. But I like the sunglasses face a lot more. I thought it was pretty cool that they included that, so I put that on him. But they do have sort of the stoic, normal face if you want that. In terms of his hands, pretty similar offering to the rest of the Medicos figures. You have sort of these splayed palm hands. You have a couple options with like pointing finger hands, one with the thumb out and one with the thumb retracted. You have some sort of flat open palm hands there. And then you have your standard closed fist hands, which I think are pretty much included with every action figure these days that give optional parts like that. For Heirophant Green, you don't have nearly as many options in his hands there. Obviously, I showed the sort of flat palm hands that I put on him to recreate the Emerald Splash pose. But you have two closed fist hands, and I really like the way that they put that sort of metallic shine detail onto the hands. Every single set of them has those color differentiations, which is really cool. There's sort of a relaxed grab hand here, which is kind of cool. And then a sort of exaggerated pointing finger pose from that hand. Now obviously with this figure, just like every other JoJo's figure, you get the action base, and the default is that, you know, Kakyoin comes with one with the peg and one flat piece like that on the back, and same thing for Heirophant Green, so that you can combine them like I had in the beginning of the video, where they're both on the same action base. This one also comes with some like kanji sound effect pieces for Heirophant Green, and so you can attach those to the action base. There's 3 of them that come with the figure, and I've got 2 of them on there. So you can have either one in the background or 2 and have him kind of off to the side there. This is the other one that comes with the figure set. But I think it's a really cool addition. I don't plan to use it that much myself when displaying the figure, but if you wanted it, it's a nice option there for the figure. I think it's kind of cool to just do something different like that. And, you know, JoJo's is kind of known for that sort of exaggerated sound effect stuff in the background, even in the anime version. So it's cool they threw that in there. They didn't really have to, but it's a nice thing for them to add to the set. Anyways, everybody, that pretty much wraps up my review of Kakyoin and Heirophant Green. Like I mentioned, not quite as exciting, perhaps, overall, with the offerings in this package compared to some of the other Stardust Crusaders members, but definitely a little bit cheaper, and I think what you do get is still really good for the price, and really well sculpted and painted and all that. Posability is pretty good overall. Like I mentioned, you know, Kakyoin's is limited due to his his lower torso there, but I think it's still a pretty solid package overall, and as with all the other JoJo's characters, I do recommend getting the two of them together because I think they look really cool with the stand and the user displayed together. But that's pretty much it for this, and with that, I will see you guys next time.